Hi everyone, welcome back to What the Fintech, your Fintech Feel Good show. As you can see right now, and again from this morning, we are on the AWS Forum Industry, the financial services industry in Hong Kong. So we are not recording from the studio as I'm doing usually, and we are like participating on a series of interviews with incredible companies here. Today we have Aaron from HEX Trust. Hey Aaron, how are you?
Hey, good to have you here today, or good to be here today, I should say.
How are you? Are you excited about that event?
Yes, the event's great. We're at the Rosewood, which is fantastic. It's always fun to kind of meet up with like minded technology individuals, kind of learning more not only about what others do, but also being able to teach what I do, and we can collaborate together. So it's a very exciting event. Happy to be here.
Is it the first event you're joining on your position of extras, or did you join other events before?
No, we did a few last year actually. So AWS hosted something, and I've done a couple other sort of smaller security centric events. But this is the first one where there's no masks, everyone's happy, everyone's here in one place. We're able to congregate without any restrictions. So that's been very, very refreshing to see a relative normalcy back in this kind of space.
And I think you're also speaker afternoon, right?
Yes, I'm speaker right after this.
Perfect. So I won't take too much of your time, and let's make this like a good warm up for your next speak.
Exactly. The vocal cords will be ready by the end.
Perfect. Before we start this interview, can you maybe introduce yourself, your background, what you did before joining this company?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Aaron Baideme. I am the head of platform and infrastructure at HEX Trust, which is decentralized Web3 custodial platform. Very exciting. Been there for around a year now. Previous to that, I specialize in DevOps infrastructure platform engineering. So my experience has actually taken me along a lot of different industries, which has been really awesome. So prior to this, I was in events and ticketing. I've done some work in the news and media side as well with like SEMP, and even more traditional finance industries along HSBC, Standard Chartered, and then consulting, digital agency stuff as well. So I think that's been the really fun thing for me is previous experiences just continue to hone my skills in managing sort of cloud and on-premise advanced infrastructure. And now to me, it's been an amazing opportunity to take that experience and bring it into sort of the DeFi world.
Perfect, perfect. Various industry and your background, so it's very interesting to see like how you jump from each industry to another, and now you're working with extras on the custody.
Yeah, it's actually been really interesting. So crypto, I would say the crypto industry and fintech in general is not normally an area of focus, or it hasn't been in the past. And so this was a really unique opportunity that kind of emerged as we were kind of exiting the pandemic. And it's just been, again, really, really awesome. So I've been able to take some of my sort of foundational knowledge managing advanced containerized workloads, scalability, security, and resiliency into an infrastructure platform that also has to deal with that extra facet of decentralization. And so in addition to having sort of private components inside, I also have to specialize and manage, advanced blockchain infrastructure, whether we're managing, traditional sort of Bitcoin or Ethereum nodes to doing some more interesting off-chain work, et cetera. So it's been a really fun ride for the last year or so.
So you're at your peak right now, you think?
Um, I hope not. I hope there's still more to learn. I mean, I am very happy with the I feel like if we were a plane, I feel like we've taken off. We're hitting cruising altitude. It is magnificent, and we're looking forward to some of the next fun climaxes in the flight, I would say. Maybe a good view of Mount Fuji, maybe a nice sunset. Like I think there's so many more adventures to be had.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Love it. So you're working for Extras. Extras is a company started in 2019, so it's already like 4 years
4 years.
old, right? I would like to see what is your role at Extras and what do you do there?
Yeah. So, like as I mentioned before, essentially, Hex Trust founded in 2019. The primary focus of Hex Trust has been custodial services,
Mhm.
and actually, Hex Trust has been gradually expanding its capabilities beyond just institutional custodianship and moving a little bit more into sort of the B2C area, and even moving into sort of more Web3 de-application areas. And so I was actually brought on again as head of platform and infrastructure to really focus on unifying the architecture between all of our product offerings and making sure that we can scale up to something that is able to reach the globe. A lot, especially when it comes to institutional custodialship, usually that's more sort of on premise. You're dealing with cold wallets, and it's focused more on sort of operational components to make sure enterprise clients can access their crypto and their tokens at the time that they need, and then segregate it from segregated from access when they need. And so there was a lot more operational focus there. As we've continued to expand, we're actually creating more interesting on-premise infrastructure to support more advanced use cases for institutional clients. But again, we've partnered actually with Animoca brands as of late last year, and this partnership is allowing us to build out our own DeFi wallet components, a DeFi wallet app for consumer clients, and we're partnering with a lot of the sort of GameFi spaces in order to expand about that. We're doing some work with Sandbox, and so all of this requires our infrastructure to essentially go from 0 to 60 and to really take it global. And so it's really been my responsibility to kind of manage that process and support kind of the advanced scalability and resiliency of the platform that we need to kind of take us to the next steps in Web3.
So this is a big role for you, right?
Yes. Very busy. Very, very busy. But always good to take some time to stop and chit chat with other people in the industry. So I'm glad to be here with you as well.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Can you say how the story of HEX Trust evolved over the last 4 years and how your role is impacting the company, but also the industry?
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, Hex Trust at the beginning was really focused on institutional custodianship. And again, it was a little bit more, I would say, almost sort of analog in a way. It's dealing with digital custodianship. It was dealing at a time, if you look back at 2019, that was pre-pandemic. You didn't have some of the bigger crypto spikes. Obviously, there was more interest in the marketplace, but people were still kind of learning about it. And so Hex Trust set themselves up at a time which was really, really advantageous to them to be a market leader and to be quite significant as an institutional custodianship. Simultaneously, I think at the time, everyone else was really focused on doing sort of exchanges and focusing on the trading facet. And while Hex Trust does have our own internal trading teams and components to the business, the fact that we were specializing in custodianship was really, really nice. But again, like I said before, very operations heavy, it's very internal management on premise, on the ground kind of workloads. And so I almost analog to some degree. What's changed between then and now, and again, kind of why I was brought in, was that we're taking everything so much further along from a technology standpoint. Again, because we're trying to increase our product offering, continue to be market leaders, not only in that custodial space, but also to really explore what Web3 can do for us. I think even as an industry as a whole, I think Web3 is still very nascent in a lot of ways. You have crypto trading, you have NFTs and NFT trading, but really the utility of Web3 beyond that is still very, in my opinion, very prototypey. And it requires more advanced infrastructure and more advanced market penetration to really kind of start shifting the paradigm as to what other kind of use cases we can explore in a decentralized space. And so that's why I was brought in. And that's, I think, the path and the journey that Hex Trust is kind of going through right now. We've paved that journey, continuing to improve our institutional custodianship, the partnership with Animoca, launching our Griffin wallet. We're now doing stuff even this week at Paris Blockchain Week, and then this weekend is actually one of the first MotoGP races. So we have a huge partnership with them, which is obviously out in Spain, I think, and then Italy, France, etc. Very much a Eurocentric, I think, event, if I remember correctly. Really, really exciting to kind of take that to the next level.
I also saw like a lot of articles last year about HEX Trust. Sorry. I also saw like a lot of articles related to HEX Trust having the license here in Hong Kong, I think,
Hmm.
and being also the first custody in Dubai.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a bit more on this?
Yeah. So that would be probably some of the other exciting things that's really happened over the last year or so. I mean, again, um, as we saw, again, most crypto companies focusing on exchange and trading, Hex Trust always focusing on custody. That's actually put us in a really advantageous position for 2022 to 2023. I mean, we've obviously seen a lot of shakeups over the last year or so, both in the crypto finance space as well as even the traditional finance space. And so to see how well we established ourselves, always making sure that even before regulatory compliance kind of was even a discussion, this was always something that was in the foundation of what Hex Trust was, even in 2019, 2020. And so now we're almost ahead of the curve in that regard. We have both SOC 1 and SOC 2 certifications here in Hong Kong that were managed by Deloitte. We're following and partnering with the Hong Kong Exchange Commission to make sure that essentially we're compliant before we have to be. I think we're the only blockchain or a crypto institution in Dubai that's fully certified at this moment. So it's really become a very advantageous position for us to leverage our capacity as a crypto guardian, crypto custodianship, and follow along with the regulatory regimes as they start to unfold in the crypto space.
Very interesting. Very interesting. How did you overcome some of the challenge you made last year when you joined the company and you start to work on this project and develop them?
Yeah, I think so for me, I think we had a lot of really great infrastructure which was already built out by some of my very close colleagues who are still with the company. Both I think on the business side as well as the technology side, we have a really great pool of people at HEX Trust, some of which who have been there since basically the beginning, which is amazing. So really, really great foundations and very intelligent people. I would not have been able to do what I was doing without them. But what was really cool is we were able to kind of stick our heads together, understand kind of what the premise is of what we're doing next, and again, really set some high level goals and see how the technologies that we're building can meet those goals. And really, at the end of the day, they can be they were very simplified. It's very much global reach, decentralized, a global infrastructure to support a global decentralized platform that is managed and guarded and custodialized, is that a word?
Perfectly.
Custodialized by Hex Trust. So I think that made our goals very simple and clear, and that's what we've been pushing for and are continuing to work on this year. I think there have been some challenges obviously in the market, as we've experienced some interesting shakeups. My personal perspective is those were actually more natural corrections. I think we were hitting this sort of like 1920s Wall Street heyday, the wild west frontier of crypto, and to be honest, you saw some bad eggs in the basket. You saw a little bit that really did need to be some roots that needed to be weeded out, and I think that's what we've seen. I think whilst I think things aren't as insanely dynamic as they used to be, I think that's actually a good thing. That proves sort of resiliency in the market as well as stability for the players that are now there. Instead of seeing these, shoot to the moon. I mean, as exciting as that makes for headlines, at the end of the day, I think that's not really sustainable for businesses that want to grow and have some form of predictability and ability to evolve. So for us, as a custodial service, thankfully, we didn't take any major risks in that space, and we were very, very much secured and continue to be. We've actually increased our revenue as we move into 2023, which is awesome. So we're very well supported and enabled to to eat up more market share and become more competitive amongst other players.
Perfect, perfect. Asset custody is a big topic for the last 2 years. NFTs, metaverse related project, right? But also, like in Asia, you have more and more companies who try to do asset custody. Maybe you can share with us why Extras is different from the other companies, but also share a bit more details about like the services and products you provide. You give us an overview at the beginning of this interview, but it would be interesting also to understand a bit more what you're doing there.
Yeah, so I think what differentiates us from other competitors is first of all, from the beginning, institutional clients was always the backbone of our business. Like our business model has always been around security and regulatory compliance, like we talked about before. A lot of these other players that are kind of entering in, either a they're trying to haphazardly pivot from one function in the industry, again, such as exchanges or trading, into another function in the industry where we have sort of established a practice and established a process that is very well secured and very well managed, I would say. So that's always really, really good. We've always wanted to follow this sort of licensed path, even from the beginning, even before really regulatory and compliance was a part of the crypto conversation. And so the fact that we've been doing that from the get go means that we're very much able to satisfy both consumers as well as enterprise customers. And a lot of the times people think it's boring, like you're dealing with enterprise, you're dealing with compliance and risk management. But at the end of the day, they're necessary facets to make sure that enterprise clients are well protected because they're investing a lot of money into your products or into your ecosystem. And at the same time, consumers, it allows you to scale up and get that, millions of users and stuff like that, and really gain sort of a market prevalence. So I think we still have a lot of competitive edge there. I mean, like we talked about Dubai, we're the the only licensed provider right now. In Hong Kong, we're very well established here, and obviously Hong Kong's actually becoming quite the front runner when it comes to sort of crypto regulation, but also support for Web3 as technology stays. So very excited to kind of see to be here in Hong Kong as a company, and to be able to take advantage of being a first runner in kind of what Hong Kong's going to pave out for our next runway, our next takeoff. If we go back to the flight analogy, um, you know, I think what we're also working on is what we're calling internally is sort of like a custody 3.0 facet. So this is kind of taking what we've done in the past, pure custody, and building an ecosystem around it. So we're working with blockchain protocols. We've positioned ourselves to be more than just a custodian already. Like while you see other players being like, "Oh, I can do custody," we've been there, done that. So
Mhm.
now we're partnering with blockchain providers, with other technology companies, and we're using that to build out an ecosystem that supports assets, supports various networks. We facilitate trading. We're doing native staking integration. So we're still in sort of the cryptocurrency space, which is super cool. But then also doing deep integrations for new products and new builders into the market, whether it be building out SDKs for Unity and Unreal to take gaming to the next level, to partnering again with like Animoca brands, or even kind of looking into other partnerships that would allow us to do more interesting asset integrations with Sandbox, or even even platforms that aren't even there yet. So whilst other people are just kind of starting, we're there. We've established our ability in custodial space, and now we're branching out too. So I think we're quite well poised to be very competitive and still be very influential.
Very interesting. I want to go to the technology part just after, but right now you spoke about like all your partners and ecosystem players with you.
Mm.
So maybe we can elaborate a bit more. What is the role of Extras inside that kind of Web3 and like metaverse industry ecosystems, and how you partner with, for example, Animoca, Sandbox,
Mm.
or other gaming platforms?
So the custody system, I think the custody platform is still the foundation to all of this. Whether again it be institutional or sort of B2B versus B2C. I think at the end of the day, what we've built out is over especially the last years, we've built out a microservice infrastructure that again allows for that scalability. But each of these microservices have very specific functions on the technology side, whether it be asset evaluations, or it be listening to the blockchain itself. Blockchain listener is a specific microservice that we have that taps into the blockchain nodes and looks for transactions and uses that sends over to another microservice that does bookkeeping and deals with aggregating the transactions. We have various proxies and indexing protocols in order to make sure that you take raw blockchain node data and you process it in ways that are useful for various applications of Web3 technologies. So that was originally built a bit more monolithic for our initial custody platform, but now has been if you think about it, decentralized in our own infrastructure to these microservices, which allow us to then repeat or mix and match or use various service depending on what the use case is. So the solutions that we're providing to our providers, or to our partners, is really we're able to take sort of this sort of Lego set of options and say, oh, you want to build a castle? All right, it's the same Legos, it's the same pieces, but we build it up to a castle. Versus like, oh, you want an underwater submarine? Okay, well we'll rearrange the Legos this way, and we've set up this other kind of product offering and solution. So that's what we've really been working on over the last year, and it's been really really fun on the technology side.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. The technology side is also interesting because you may have developed like some security features, I'm sure, to protect like the transactions, also the data and information from your enterprise and customers that you have. What did you develop as a key features there? Can you elaborate a bit
Yeah,
more on
I
it?
can go through a few of them. I mean, security and that sort of redundancy capabilities is always going to be an evolving bag. Every time you think you've secured something, someone else finds some kind of vulnerability. So it's always that cat and mouse kind of game. But I think again, security is in Hex Trust blood. The idea of having you know the processes behind the scenes, so non-technology wise, having the processes around audit and logging and tracking and review and stuff like that, I think is quite important. But we've continued to kind of build out a backbone that is secure on the front side as well. And it's been a very interesting exploration because if you think about blockchain in general, typically decentralized means it should be publicly exposed. So what we do try to do is we try to establish sort of this yin and yang approach to how we're dealing and interacting with the blockchain. We have some of our components which are meant to be 100% public, like we'll open source the code base for it, everything. Like, especially when we're working with partners, the integrations that we're providing, a Web3 provider integrations and whatnot, we're trying to open source and just kind of expose them completely. So that way, they go through security audits internally, but then they're there, similar to how Signal uses their encryption protocol for end-to-end communications. So putting it out there to make sure that the ecosystem and the environment, we can all work on it together and improve it together. The other side is very much a zero trust environment, and that's something that I really take to heart, both at my career at HEX Trust and just as my career as an infrastructure engineer. The idea of zero trust environments, making sure that if you don't need access to this, you don't get access to this. And so our environment is extremely hardened to a degree where it's almost kind of, it takes a little bit extra time sometimes to deploy a new service or to deploy a new integration, because we have, again, those audit procedures, but then after that, even we have to actually flip on the switch for, to say, this new microservice to be able to communicate with the blockchain listener, or the bookkeeping application components. Like, you have to, aside from setting up their own way to communicate, these services cannot communicate with each other because they're literally hardened off into separate networks. So we take security from a technology standpoint extremely seriously. Cold wallet storage is something that we're continuing to improve upon, making sure that, essentially, especially as we continue to impact both enterprise consumers as well as, just general consumers, making sure that we can do our best to be like, if these assets don't need to be exposed, don't expose them. Put them into cold storage vaults, but be able to set up infrastructure around those cold storage applications that allow the customer flexibility to still access their assets when they need to. So we're actually building out some really fantastic sort of, we call it our cross domain solution, to allow for genuine cold storage, like off the internet, wallet management, but instantaneous access for clients when they need it. So that's actually something that's in progress this year. So I'll be able to give you more information later on.
Let's do it later. But actually, I have like a lot of pictures on my mind right now. It's very easy to understand everything you say. So thank
Oh,
you very
thank
much for
you.
this. It's really educational.
I try. Hopefully my analogies work out very well. I can sometimes get carried away with them, but
No. It's very fine. It's very fine. Quick question. Like, we know that the crypto Web3 space is evolving a lot, and you spoke about the risk management. So how do you mitigate the risk management here, and how you make sure that the technology you develop can still keep the fast passing of the development of the new emerging technology there?
So I think this is probably the biggest blessing and curse, I think, in a good company. It is always going to be a tug of war. You have the business, you have our CEO, you have our founders. Like, we need to get to market, we need to be competitive and get to market quickly. We need to iterate and deliver new features extremely regularly, and try new things and potentially fail and try something else. And we need to be able to have the agility to do that. And I'm 100% very much supportive of that. But at the same time, like, we have to, quote unquote, slow down, because we do need to do all these audit processes. So what my responsibility has been over the last year is really, how do we make sure that we can have all these succinct processes for security checking? So we have everything from, again, from, approval processes, whether, it escalates to the CTO or the CEO, to sort of automated processes around, like, static application security testing, dynamic application security testing, third-party contractors for penetration testings, as well as internal to penetration testing tools, code scanning, etc. So we have all of these pieces. And essentially, what's been my responsibility is kind of hooking all of these up into a well-defined process and pipeline that still allows developers to develop and still allows us to iterate features quickly, but that not a single feature, not a single code contribution is left unchecked. So it goes through all of these, and it's constantly a battle every day to, because everyone's like, go faster, go faster, go faster, deliver, deliver, deliver. And I'm like, okay, I will make this pipeline faster. I will make these security scans run faster. Like, or how do we adapt our process so we can still get this out so that, it can be quality assurance tested and user acceptance tested, whilst also simultaneously going through security application testing. So doing these sort of like forked pipelines, and then everyone reemerges at the other end with final approvals to deploy new features to production. So Again, constantly a battle. It's also constantly an evolution. I think we, at the end of the day, thankfully, I think we still take security and the sanctity of our platform very seriously. You see issues like LastPass. Like let's make an example right now. You see LastPass where obviously they're fighting to corner the market with other password managers, whether it be 1Password or Bitwarden or whatnot, and someone didn't do something right, someone missed a compliance step, all because probably someone wanted something faster, and it caused this major breach that's going to destroy their reputation forever. So we, at the end of the day, thankfully, as a company as a whole, like, take that extremely seriously, and so no matter what, we definitely have a goal of having our cake and eating it too, delivering quickly and delivering securely.
I have a question for the demand of digital asset and digital asset custody
Mm,
coming in the future years. How do you see the trends coming to you? How do you see the ask and demand from the market? But also, I have a second question here.
yeah.
How do you see the relationship between like company like HEX Trust with regulatory and regulators like for example in Hong Kong, in Singapore, or in Dubai?
So for the first question, I definitely see demand continuing to increase. I think at the moment, again, thankfully, we've seen a bit of corrections when it comes to sort of more speculation and sort of that market pushing, and now we're seeing everyone actually being like, okay, what real add value can you provide? And I think that that's still a world that's being discovered each and every day. Like, we're beyond the days of like, let's make a new Shiba coin, or let's make a new YOLO coin. Thankfully, we're past those days, and we're to the point where we're actually trying to build out digital assets that are add value. And I think we're at the very entry stages to that. So I think demand can only go up from here. We have NFTs, but let's explore the use cases of it. And I think it's very exciting that HEX Trust gets to be a part of this journey and being the custodians of these assets and the sort of focal point for these assets to potentially integrate and interact with each other across multiple platforms. The second question, going back, we were talking about regulatory environment. What specifically?
Um, I was saying, like, you spoke about like Dubai being the first
Mm.
custody there. So, how do you collaborate with, for example, Hong Kong here on the regulatory side or Dubai to make sure that everything is in in norm for the company, but also they can push the adoption of digital assets with company like yours, helping them to be secure and
Oh, so this is an amazing team effort, and I have to give props to our security team, our compliance and risks team, our custody team themselves, and even our legal teams for this, because without them, a lot of this stuff couldn't happen. I think, especially in this day and age, we have to look at some of the political landscapes globally and just how there are differentiations in regulatory markets, whether it be EMEA, Europe proper, Asia Pacific, or Hong Kong versus mainland even. And they do so much due diligence on a regular basis to make sure that from a regulatory standpoint we have everything documented and submitted in a way that allows us to pass what we need to pass and get the certifications that we need. The great thing is too is that they're very good about pipelining that information to the technology side. So for the most part, there haven't been a lot of extensive regulatory needs on the technology side that go beyond something that like a Securities and Exchange Commission would want, which is good. But we've got preparations so that, as we continue to expand, like with this global infrastructure that I talked about previously, that we can craft specific answers to potential needs of data segregation, especially like GDPR, et cetera, like all of these different data protection requirements or localized data requirements. We've got solutions that we're building out to sort of technologically answer for that, while the rest of our teams in HEX Trust manage sort of the paperwork, for lack of a better term.
Perfect. Thank you very much for all these answers. I know I asked two questions at the same time, but it's great. Do you see like any new technology or use case coming to you and a demand, like the demand from your customers or from the market growing right now?
So I think again, I think it's our partnership with Animoca that's quite the most interesting area that we're kind of exploring right now. That's really more in the gaming sector than anything else. But we're exploring those use cases for how digital assets can kind of not only reside for a specific game utility, but also how they can be leveraged across platforms. So the great thing with Animoca is that they have a very wide what's the word? A very wide selection of platforms under their control. And so, you have, for example, you have an asset that's an NFT, it's a car for their rev racing game, right? But then at the same time, you could go to one of their other gaming platforms, one of their other services, and that NFT still means something there, but it's probably not a car. Maybe it's something as simple as a document, or maybe it's a key to access some kind of Easter egg, or gem, or some other kind of currency in another application. So right now, that's what we're kind of exploring within the Animoca space, which is really cool. And I think that idea and that paradigm can kind of be replicated across other partners. So you could take your NFT and you'll show up to the sandbox, and maybe that gives you sort of VIP access to go shopping at the Porsche dealership in the sandbox. I don't know if Porsche has land in the sandbox yet, but maybe they do. So that's, I think, one kind of thing that I think that we are really keen to be a part of, because I think right now NFTs have really been sort of more of a digital asset collectible. And whilst you don't necessarily, some people are proponents of, having real world utility to a digital asset, some people aren't. That argument could go on for the end of time. I do think having protocols that allow for NFTs or for specific assets to cross into different platforms, I think that's probably one of the next big steps. So it'll be really fun to explore that. And yeah, I think there's still a lot of other use cases, like, things that we're exploring at HEX Trust, things that I think others are exploring in the industry. HEX Trust and us as individuals at HEX Trust are constantly collaborating with other people in the space, looking at, maybe decentralized way to combat fake news as an example, a more advanced sort of decentralized Wikipedia that can deal with content validation. So I think there's a lot. Like I said, we're just at the very beginning of exploring what these use cases look like and how we can continue to globally decentralize our world.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Quick question about the company. So, can you share a bit more about like what is the mission of HEX Trust? What are the future milestones that you have, and also like maybe like how the team is working all together, and if also the team is just based here in Hong Kong, but you also have like teams in Dubai, for example, or overseas?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say HEX Trust in a nutshell, it's really meant to be a sort of a one-stop shop for digital assets, which starts with custody. I think custody has always been, like I said before, our backbone, and custody will always be to us the center point of what our business is, and kind of we branch out from there. So I would say that that's kind of a quick kind of mission summary. Um, we want to offer and be able to enable a complex suite of products and services that start with the assets that are under our care and our custody, but care sounds better. um, so I would say that that's kind of the HEX Trust mission, more or less, which is, again, super cool, loving it. Most of our team is based in Hong Kong. It was, HEX Trust was originally founded here in Hong Kong, so we have a really strong base here. A lot of our technology team is based out of here. However, we do have we're growing everywhere, so we're really establishing globally at this point. So we've got some technical team members that are based in Vietnam and around Asia Pacific in general. But then right now, I think what our focus has been for 2022 into 2023 is that global expansion. So we've talked about Dubai. We're actually working with with France and the UK for their MiCA European regulatory regime. So we're dealing with that in Europe. We're also making plans into North America as well. And this is both from our primarily sort of, if you think about them as the first frontiersmen, it's definitely sort of our sales, our custody teams, sort of our business unit teams that are kind of expanding at this. And then we're also taking our technology teams along for the ride, in order to make sure that, we have that 24/7 coverage. We have that ability to continuously iterate with a global team of engineers. So really quite exciting. I think we're still at the beginning of that expansion, but it's been very promising, again, with the regulatory compliance successes in Dubai and what we're working on now in France and the UK. I think we've been making some great strides in a very small amount of time.
Thank you very much. I can speak with you forever. I think we
Ah,
can have like many
this
many
is so much
questions.
fun. I mean, we'll have to have a cocktail next time for sure, but
Definitely, definitely. Oh, some beers. We don't know.
yes, yes, absolutely. Well, you're French, so we can always have wine. I'm always a good fan of wine. Champagne,
Sure.
la méthode champenoise.
Yeah, very good one. But unfortunately, you have a time
Yes, I
slot
do have
that
to
yeah,
talk
yeah, yeah.
more, and I probably need to rest my voice before that. But
So I would like just to ask you like one or two last
yeah,
questions
of
before we start
course.
this one. Um, would you give like any advice to your younger self if you could do it, like maybe 5 years earlier or 10 years earlier, maybe to jump directly to the crypto space or digital assets?
Well, the Bitcoin that I bought at $5, keep it and don't touch it for 20 years. It'll be worthwhile. That would be the first advice I'd probably give myself. In general, I think it would be, take advantage of the growing space, like maybe when, um, Ethereum was first founded, and kind of explore ways to expand the technology back then. But I don't know. Hindsight's always 2020. So to me, I feel like personally, I'll take the learnings that we do have and the regrets of not keeping the Bitcoin when we bought it ages ago, and take that and use that to make more exciting and more well nuanced decisions in the future.
We all made mistake with the cryptocurrencies. I have like some stories as well.
Of
Uh,
course.
where can people learn more about you? Do you have a blog? Do you have like I don't know, like a LinkedIn page
Uh, yeah,
updated
yeah, yeah.
regularly?
So always, especially if you want to collaborate, professionally, or in any kind of like technology standpoint, LinkedIn's always the best way to catch me there. Otherwise, Instagram. I actually just an Instagram person. So Aaron Force 001 is my Instagram. Otherwise, you can look me up on LinkedIn by my name, which is Aaron Baideme. Um, but yeah, I think those are the two primary platforms to reach out to. So, and those are the two that I try to use the most often. I'm trying to like grow my Twitter, but like it's a slow but sure process. So, yeah, otherwise, HEX Trust does have their own Twitter, so HEX_Trust. And you can also reach out to the HEX Trust and reach any of our team, whether it be the business or the technology side, through their LinkedIn as well. So,
Perfect, perfect. Thank you very much for today. It was a
yeah,
pleasure
thank
for
you
me.
so much for having me. This was really, really absolutely fun. So, I'm glad you were able to stop by AWS Industry Forum today. I'm glad we were able to have a chat, and I think hopefully we'll be able to collaborate again in the future.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Have a best of luck for your speech after.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll let you know how it goes.
Thank you very
All
much.
right.
See you soon.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye bye.